Thanks for joining in on Biology with Zimmerman. Today we're going to be taking a look at monohybrid crosses, or what I like to call complete dominance crosses. You've done these problems in the past, so this is going to be just a quick little review on how to set them up. So we're going to use the first problem for your homework tonight as an example. So it says cystic fibrosis is an autosomal recessive disorder. Normal is dominant. Suppose a couple, both of whom are carriers for cystic fibrosis, wish to have children. What would be the genotypes and phenotypes of these offspring? So when you're setting up these kind of problems, the first step is to write down what's given to you. So it tells us that cystic fibrosis is autosomal recessive. When it tells us that it is autosomal, that tells us that it is not sex-linked. In the case of humans, an autosomal gene is going to be found on chromosomes 1 through 22. So we don't have to worry about X-linked. It is just a normal complete dominance problem. So it says cystic fibrosis is autosomal recessive and normal is dominant. So I'm going to write down that I know that normal is dominant. And I'm going to write down that cystic fibrosis is recessive. So the next step is then to figure out what letters for your alleles that you're going to use. Those letters could be anything. It doesn't matter which ones you pick. I like to use whatever my dominant condition is to figure out my letter. So in this case, dominant is normal. So I'm going to use a capital N to represent that and a lowercase n to represent cystic fibrosis. So make sure that you always underline your lowercase letters so that I know that it is a recessive gene. So from here, the second step is to write what your cross is. So it says, suppose a couple, both of whom are carriers for cystic fibrosis. When they say that word carrier, that means they're carrying this trait, but don't express it. So they are going to be heterozygous. And it says both of them are heterozygous. So we're going to write down big N little n times big N little n. The next step is to set up and fill out your Punnett square. I'm going to draw my Punnett square a little bit crazy because it keeps changing it to a data table if I try to make a square. So set up your Punnett square. One parent goes down the side, one parent goes across the top, and then you fill across and down. You can do it any way that you like. I like to do one box at a time. So I'm going to bring this big N over, big N down, big N over, little n down, big N down, little n over, and then little n over, little n down. So filling out the square is pretty easy. Then your final step is to write your genotypes and phenotypes. They don't tell us in the problem if they want it as a fraction or a percentage or a ratio, so you can answer it any way that you want to. So when you are figuring out your genotypes, you just need to look in your boxes and write down what you see. So I see 1 big N, I see 2 heterozygous, and I see 1 little n. So in ratio form, this is 1 to 2 to 1. In percentage form, this would be 25%, 50%, and 25%. Now the phenotypes, you have to look at the genotypes and figure out what they mean. So this box here, this box here, this box here, all have that capital letter. So that tells me 3 of the 4 boxes are normal. So that's going to be 3 normal to 1 cystic fibrosis. If you want to answer it in percentage form, it would be 75% and 25%. All right, so you're going to do the rest of these problems on a separate sheet of paper tonight and Adobe Scan or Note Scan and turn it in electronically. I hope this video helps. It's going to be posted on YouTube so that you can access it anytime that